It's Monday. It is Monday, and it shall be Monday for the foreseeable rest of the day. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I could have had a longer weekend, not going to lie. I was enjoying my weekend. I caught up on some television, did some stuff around the house. I watched most of the shows I watched. Sometimes the shows watched me because I fell asleep. Anyway, let's get into stuff and things. We are currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and the platform formerly known as Twitter, now called X. Good morning, Neha. I saw you pop in first on the stream on TikTok. One thing I want to try today, and maybe we'll get this, some of this delay of audio sync worked out. Apparently, I know sometimes the audio sync goes out. I found a new feature in my my audio processor that allows me to run some delay. So I want to know if I can do that. I want to know if it makes a positive change. That's what I want to know. Let me get into the stream here on my other machine. Cool. Let's talk about it. So if you want to ask questions, that's what we're here for. It's a show that is all about you, answering your traffic and police questions. If you want to ask on anything, you can, except on Twitter. On Twitter, we'd suggest you go over to, anything but Twitter. Go to youtube.TrafficCop.ca, and it'll take you right to our YouTube page, or just go to TrafficCop.ca and select from all of the different social media platforms available to you. All right. I'll change the background since that's something I can do. And then it takes away those bright colored things that we thought at one point may have been contributing to our being hidden. Once upon a time, we had like 40,000 people in our live stream, and then we didn't. So now we have 6,000 people that come through our live stream, and we're okay with that. But we're still trying to figure out what is going on with TikTok and why they do what they do. So we got Michael H., who made it in. Did you make it in first? You were the first person with the countdown. Let's see here. We got good morning in 20 minutes early. Hit it. Okay. We got the. I think you. Okay. Let's see here. We got good morning, Sean. We got Neha. Hey, look at that. Our link to TikTok is working perfectly. That is good to know. What am I trying to open up here? I want to make sure I have my buttons ready to go. We got Zombie with a good morning. We got Sarbjeet with a hi. Tim Shallow with a good morning. Awesome. We've got Adrian Kielinski. Did I get that right? Kilsinski? Okay. Kilisinski. I think I got it right like the third or fourth time. Chase P says, good morrow, off to YYC later today. Very cool. I like to pretend that I know what YYC is. I know what YYZ is. Where are you going? Do I have to decode it? I might have to decode it. YYC. Calgary. Okay, good to know. Have a safe trip. A user, I don't like Fords, says, good morning, how are you? I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well too. Okay, we'll get into some flagging of questions because I don't want to get into too many right now. We are going to talk about Vision Zero enforcement team in just a second, but I want to get some good mornings out of the way. Emma, good morning to you too. Let's see here. We got Okay. Talking about Fords and plates and things. We have a question about alcohol and back seats. Okay, let's do the Vision Zero business so I can get on to your business. Vision Zero enforcement team is a group of dedicated officers that go out and try and change driver behavior one ticket at a time, sometimes multiple tickets. I mean, they can write more than one at a time. And they are focused on special stuff. Yes, their special stuff is the big four. They are out there to issue tickets for speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving because those are the driver behaviors that lead to serious injury and death on our roadways, at least more often than others. Tinted license plates don't directly, or very often don't lead to serious injury. But you know what? You never know. Maybe the tinted plate could do it. However, they do cause other issues in relation to investigations. So good things to do are like to not break any laws. And then these gentlemen and ladies and people will not have any reason to to pull you over. Just saying. Monica says, good morning. Good morning to you too. And Will MTO ever carry firearms is a question. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. They don't currently, but I don't know if they ever will. Let's see here. Boom. Yeah, they do traffic stops that I would feel uncomfortable doing, but there are very many special constables and community officers in other provinces that do traffic stops without firearms, and it's just business as usual for them. All right. Just to finish off on the Vision Zero enforcement team business, they are in 32 Division and 53 Division today. Downsview, Willowdale, Newtonbrook, Bathurst Manor, Lawrence Park, Yonge and Eglinton, Rosedale, Leaside, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. Yeah, I didn't read the whole business. I got off and started answering more stuff. It is one of the things that I do. If the audio is off, let me know. If we're not in sync, and I can play with this dial here and see what we can do about correcting it. I know there was an issue on the 9th. I have not reviewed the 10th. And that's if you're wondering why I haven't updated any new episodes on the podcast version for the audio only. Also has video. And I got hung up on the video. So we will talk about stuff and things. Oh, I got all these things here. Okay. So question from Adrian is, do police stop those with dark windows? Yes. Yes, we do. Do we focus on it? Is it the number one thing that we're after? No. It's one of those things that if we stop you for something else and you have tinted windows, definitely we'll address it. And if you are, if we're talking really dark windows, we can't even see somebody inside it, I will always stop that. That is just one of those things that I am very, very pro-stopping. There's no reason anyone needs dark windows unless they're trying to hide something. What are they going to try to hide? Well, it's probably not that they want to pick their nose in private. It's probably that they want to use their cell phones or not wear their seatbelts or do other things that they're not supposed to be doing. At any rate, it's unsafe. Not only can we not see you, but you can't see out. I know many people say that, I can see just fine until they hit something. So we do enforce that, absolutely. All right. Okay, I don't get it was a joke that Michael put up. We'll leave that for later when we have time for jokes. I don't like Ford says, I've seen a few cars that were not EVs using EV plates. I checked and they weren't eligible. Now you say they weren't eligible because they were they weren't plug-in hybrids. They weren't what were they? I'm curious because there are a number of plates that qualify for green plates. Pure electric vehicles, absolutely, but plug-in hybrids also. But yes, if you have plates that you're not eligible for, they shouldn't be on that vehicle. And those plates could be pulled from something and truly just stuck on. They could be stolen plates. In any case, not allowed. So I'd love to know more. Feel free to DM me and give me details or send me a form submission by going to TrafficCop.ca. By the way, TrafficCop.ca allows you to see a whole bunch of stuff, like all of our social media links, as well as useful links for checking stuff and things. Like, is your friend who wants to borrow your car actually licensed? They may have a plastic card in their wallet. Is it valid? Is it suspended? You'll be able to check that with some of the links there. Also, if you're buying a used car, you want to make sure it's not on the stolen list. Another useful tool that is there for you to use. Yeah. All right. Can I have okay. So Crypto James wants to know if you can have an unopened case of beer in the back seat, and the answer is yes, you can. Backseat. Now, listen, is it a good idea to store anything that heavy in your backseat? Not a good idea. Trunk is better. If it's in an open cargo area, strap down with a cargo net. Also a very good idea because if you're involved in a collision, that very heavy case of beer may become one with the back of your head, and that would not be good. Just saying. But if everything's sealed, not an issue. Can cell phone be on the mount hanging from the rearview mirror? Well, hanging from the rearview mirror doesn't sound like a really good mount option. Generally speaking, we don't want something in your view, blocking or obstructing your view. But if you have a cell phone mount that attaches it to the dash or somewhere else, it is legal. Now, it's legal for mounting it there. You can't type a letter to mom while it's mounted there. You can answer and hang up, and that's about it. Now, you can also have the screen listed or on so that you have your GPS mode on, but even when it's in GPS mode, you're allowed to look at it, so you've had to set it and forget it. You can't be typing in directions while you're driving around. Okay. Chopra Gurnit says, can we have a plate cover that is transparent on our license plate? By letter of law, the answer is no, you can't. No clear, no tinted, no frames, no nothing. Nothing. Nada. You can't have anything on your license plate. I think I'm pretty clear what they're not allowed to have anything. It's a $110 fine for obstructing or obscuring your license plate. You can't have dirt on your license plate. You got to clean it. It has to be clear and legible. Clear this. How do you know if someone's license is suspended if the vehicle is registered to their parents? Okay, if we're pulling someone over, we can't tell if the driver who is not affiliated with that vehicle is suspended until we pulled them over and search their license, at which point we find out lots of things because we're actually investigating the driver at that point. So we can't just, magically determine who's in the vehicle without actually stopping it. Let's see. Here's Calm Down, and I noticed some comments about speeding over the weekend that you had made. So can police actually uphold the speed limit laws and start pulling people over 3 kilometers over? Could we do that? Could we have like a zero tolerance for 1 to 3 kilometers? We could. Is it reasonable? I don't think so. I don't think the courts would appreciate it either. So writing tickets that would likely be thrown out for 3 kilometers over, it doesn't make sense. Writing tickets for 10 to 15 kilometers over seems to be where the courts determine it's reasonable. And we also believe it's pretty reasonable. So if you're within 10 kilometers of the speed limit, are you getting pulled over and stopped? Depends on where you are. If you're in a 30 kilometer an hour zone, you're doing 10 over, that's a significant amount of speed over the posted limit. But 3 kilometers over, it could be just an issue with your speedometer. I'm not giving them excuses. I'm just giving you reality as potential reasons why they will use defenses in court and burn all sorts of money defending, both money from their day off court to fight it and the court's money for actually staffing the court. We have so many people doing 20, 30, 40 kilometers over. We can fill courtrooms without any assistance. So, I don't think 3 kilometers is coming to a neighborhood near you anytime soon. Now, if it's electronic, hey, great, do it. But if it's police officer, I think that would be a burn of resources. Is colored window tint illegal? So any color, gray, like any tonal, whether it be gray tint, I guess that's the regular color. Is that a variation of black? I don't know. If it's purple, green, orange, blue, the maximum amount of light coming through is what is measured, not the color. Yeah. Reflective is not permitted. You can't prevent people from seeing inside. That's the big issue. Can someone drive your car if your license is taken away from a health problem? So if you have a fully insured and permitted vehicle, it's safe for the road, it's got license plates that are valid, and it's insured, then yes, any licensed person can drive that vehicle. So if you had a medical suspension or your license was suspended for any reason, you could ask someone to take you for a drive in your car, and it would be legal. Yeah. Now, I will say this. Your insurance company may say that you're not allowed to have a driver who is under 25 drive your car. That's something that your private agreement with you and a private organization makes. And if that's the case, that's a problem. But it's a problem between you and the insurance company. Legally, as a police officer, if I pull someone over and they have a license that allows them to drive that class of vehicle and they're not obstructing or they're not violating any of their conditions, they're good to go. Simple as that. Okay. Zavizio, what's going on? Okay, we got, good morning. I saw a video of other countries using 4-way flashers in traffic as a means that they are about to stop. Is this supposed to happen in Ontario as well? I wonder if that's a country doing it thing or a decision that's just something they do in that community. Certainly not something we do here. Using your 4-way flashers as an indicator that you're about to stop, I would just use your brake lights to say that you're slowing down, and people should know how to drive. They're licensed, right? So seeing brake lights would allow people to, get a hint that you're changing your speed and it should be going down, not up. And then when you come to a stop, being able to pay attention to what's happening in front of them, they should know that you've stopped. Amber lights really are for vehicles that are on the road disabled, a static hazard. They're hazard lights for a reason, because where they are is a hazard, and you should know that. I mean, not you, but everyone who sees the light should know that they're a hazard. It confuses people when lights are flashing and they're not going anywhere. So, weird. Okay, question from Graham. Why don't Toronto Police enforce King Street transit priority? Well, we do. We just don't sit there all day long every day. See, we have a lot of different responsibilities as the police, and we do everything a little bit. And if you we don't have a full time make sure people don't drive on this street like we did when it first rolled out. We had multiple officers throughout the day ticketing in that area. But we have a lot of things that we have to do as police. It's not just enforce that particular stretch of roadway. So and we're also focused on things that lead to serious injury and death, of which the King Street priority is generally not one. So that's it. So we do it, but we just don't do it all the time. The idea is to police people who are occasionally making issues or having issues following the rules, as opposed to everyone having issues following the rules. And that might be, the design. Maybe you should be reevaluated if everyone's breaking the rules. Maybe we need gates up. Press a button, little door opens, and a streetcar goes through. I don't know what the answer is, but paying someone $120,000 to sit there and ticket everyone who goes in the street, full time. Maybe not. Okay. Can I have an unfinished bottle of liquor in my backseat? How do you reckon I transport unfinished? Now, this I imagine you mean unsealed. So you've cracked the bottle, you've poured out whatever you're doing wherever you are at the party. End of the night, the party is finished, but the bottle is not. How do you take it home? Well, you can transport it in your trunk, in a container that is closed but not sealed. So in the trunk it has to be out of the driver's reach. It cannot be accessible. That's the deal. So while it's possible that tucked under the back seat is not a problem, the best place for it is the trunk. Okay, question is, why do police lay careless charges every time in a rear end collision they didn't observe? I get the feeling that you have asked this question before. Somebody has. Maybe you didn't get it answered fast enough, you came back. But it seems like the last time I read it, it was very, very worded very similar to this. The answer is we don't always. It's not every time. Very often we do. Careless driving means that you did something that led to a collision. If you weren't careless, you wouldn't have hit the car in front of you. And now, very often we will lay a more appropriate charge if it was following too close. But I know you were careless. It may have been following too close, but careless does make sense. It is an appropriate charge. But if we have enough information to lay the simple charge of follow too close, that would also be appropriate. And very often that's where I would personally go. But it doesn't make careless inappropriate, because had you not been careless, you wouldn't have hit the car. Just saying. Can we use license? Let's see here. Can we use a license plate cover that is a radius of 1 inch around the plate, not touching the plate? If you're covering the plate, you're obscuring the plate, which makes it not permitted. So I appreciate that one may be actually optically correct or not interfere, because the bending of the plastic tends to cover or interfere with the license plate. That one might actually work better, but you can't have anything over the plate. Now, if it's a clear cover, I personally don't have an issue with it. If I can read the plate is legible. Before the introduction of automated license plate readers, I never took issue with those. If I couldn't read it, that's when I was pulling you over. And if you notice, a huge number of people have license plate covers on. They're not all getting tickets. The reason you get a ticket is I can't see the plate. That tends to be what causes the issue. And you may find that you would have no problem with that. That it's not legal, but you may not have a problem with it. Because if you can read the plate, you read the plate. Why do dealerships put license plate borders on if they're not allowed? You'll need to ask license plate, we call it car dealerships. I imagine it's primarily because they want to advertise to you and use your car as a moving billboard that they don't have to pay for. But they're not legal. And it's not an offense for them to put it on. It's an offense for you to drive with them on. So either tell them to take it off or not accept the vehicle, or take it off yourself. Either way, you can't drive with it, not legally. If someone under the age of 25 wants to drive a person's car that is currently suspended, is that okay? Depends on the insurance company. Legally, if they're properly insured, if they're properly licensed for that class of motor vehicle, it's not a problem from a police perspective. But in the event of a collision, if there's a stipulation that no one under the age of 25 is to drive that car, and you have someone under the age of 25 drive that car, well, now you've violated your agreement, and the insurance company would be well within their rights to deny you any claim. They'd say, well, no, you were in violation of your contract. Go pound salt. Let's see here. Am I allowed to use my full light in a dark road instead of my regular light? What on earth do you mean? Do you mean your high beams? Do you mean by full light meaning your high beams because you can't see and there's nobody else around? The rules apply wherever you are. You can use high beams, assuming you aren't within 150 meters of oncoming traffic or 60 meters behind another vehicle. And if you mean full light, if you mean high beams by full light, then that's the answer. But if you're within those measurements, then you cannot. Simple as can be. Can a G2 driver rent a car in Quebec, or is a G2 allowed to drive in Quebec? So a G2 is allowed to drive in Quebec. Whether or not a company will rent them a car is up to the company. There's no regulation that says you can't rent cars. But it's a good question. It's really up to the rental company. Again, rental car companies, when I was a kid, wouldn't rent a car to someone under the age of 25. So you were out. Now, G2 is a license that has full driving privileges aside for some conditions. And if they're okay renting it to you, there's nothing illegal about it that I'm aware of. Do I have to use my signal light? Is it? Do I have to use my signal light as it doesn't impede traffic? Ted, I don't know what you mean. Do you mean, do you have to signal your intention to change direction, like you're going to turn? Then the answer is yes. Now, technically speaking, if it doesn't interfere with anybody else on the road, like there's nobody else to interfere with, because if there was anyone who could see it, then you'd have to signal. I would suggest signaling at all times, always, your intention to change lanes or move, because the person you don't see is the person you're probably going to hit, regardless if you think they're there to be hit. You catch my drift. Just build good habits and always signal. Okay, what advice would you give someone about to embark in the TPS hiring process? Well, that is simple. And don't apologize for the non-traffic related subject. It is a police related subject, and we are the police, and we love talking about this stuff because getting good people here on the job is part of what we do. So let me quickly throw this onto the screen, and I will share with you the careers page for anyone who's watching and is interested. Okay. So first of all, I would suggest visiting this page. What is this page, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is tps.ca/careers, and on this magical page is everything you've ever wanted to know about all the positions we're hiring for with the Toronto Police. If you hit special or police constable, it gives you all the details along with a big old button that says apply now. And yeah, I would get to know everything on this page. Make sure you have make sure you know what's here before taking any further steps. The reason being is you want to have this information available so that when you call and get more information with a recruiter, which is probably the next step, you don't waste their time or yours going over stuff that you should have researched on your own. Be aware. Like, I would do a deep dive on the Toronto Police website so you know everything there is to know. Be a police geek like I am and just study up. That way, when they ask you questions, you have the answers. You know the stuff, and you don't have to waste your time on the basics. That allows you to get to the nitty-gritty of what you actually need. Now, in terms of advice, truly advice, is to be the best person you could be. And I mean that by continue to develop yourself professionally through education, through volunteerism, by physical fitness, and stay out of trouble, obviously legal problems, but also your driving should be spectacular and without collision and speeding and all that stuff. Be the person that we want to see as an applicant. Now, I just because we were talking about it, I want to look at other options, see if they posted any new jobs. Because there are civilian roles that we are often hiring for, and we are still with the same ones from last week, and that is a payroll coordinator and a communications operator. These are places. This is a place that you should check all the time because they're constantly being updated. Cool. Now let's get on to, the question disappeared, but I want to answer that question now. Thank you. Sorry, not a legal question, but if a big truck is close to you while merging, do you know if it'll be safer to speed up and merge in front of them or slow down a bit and merge behind the truck? Well, here's the thing. If speeding up means you have to exceed the posted speed limit, you're breaking the law. So I'm not going to give you advice to break the law to be safer. That doesn't make sense. So slowing down and merging safely behind them is going to be much better, especially if speeding up and cutting them off in an area that they may not even see you in. These are all high-risk situations. So you're much better off to take your time, merge safely behind, and then you may find yourself going with the flow of traffic, of course not above the posted speed limit, but carrying on and eventually making it past that vehicle. So anything that requires you to hammer down is probably not a good idea. Just saying. Here's more questions about transporting alcohol. What about transporting a bottle of booze on a motorcycle? Nothing illegal about it. Sealed bottle can go anywhere. Open bottle has to be outside of the driver or rider's reach. Same thing in a package. And if you have saddlebags, if you have a rear trunk, these are the places to put it. Could it go on your backpack if that's where you're going with this question as I go down the rabbit hole? Is it a reasonable place to store it? Is it accessible to you? It's in luggage. I'd have to throw that question to somebody else to really get the definitive answer. But I would say that if it was in your backpack and you were wearing gloves and a helmet, it's not accessible to you right now. Yeah. JD, would you concur? JD is monitoring and can send me a message and let me know if they think that the motorcycle option, where would you put it? He says, yep. JD says, yep. All right. Everyone needs a JD, by the way. JD's awesome. Can I have blue LEDs inside of the car? So this is for interior lighting. You could. Is it a good idea? Not good, bad. Otherwise, there's no law that really attaches itself to what color could you light the interior of your vehicle with. Now, I would suggest that red light is better. Red light, oddly enough, is one that comes with many manufacturers' vehicles now, especially police models, because it doesn't impede your night vision. If you're turning on a light for anything other than making the footwells glow, and it's actually to see, to illuminate, well, then you want to be able to not lose your night vision. So that's going to be better for you, red. But blue, my vehicle has a dial your own rainbow, and you can have your footwells turn to any color. It's got a whole myriad of, my kids always, fight between blue and pink and green, and I turn it off. Okay. Question for you from Ariane. Hey, officer, how much time period we get to pay the red light ticket once we get the notice? It should say it. I don't know if it's 15 to 30 days. When we issue a ticket, it's 15 days to either pay it or choose an option. And I imagine it would be the same thing. It might be a little longer or because of the mail, the postal service, but I don't have an answer for you. We are not involved with the red light tickets that are issued by the city. That's a city project, whereas we issue them by hand and we'll tell you what to do with them. Okay. John wants to know. On a single lane beside a bike lane, when making a right turn, can I make the right in the bike lane? Okay. Depends. If you're talking about a bike lane that has hash marks at the intersection or a green painted space, that is actually telling you that that's an area where cars and bicycles will occupy the same space. So many intersections have either hash marks at the edge so that cars know that they can then pinch the curb and cyclists would then pass them to the left. If it is a cycle track, it's a protected cycle track, and no, you can't enter those at all, but you must yield to the cyclist that you are going to be turning in front of. You got to make sure you're not going to cause them any harm when you do what you do. But truly driving in a bicycle lane is never acceptable, except those very short few meters before an intersection, if it's marked that way. Oh, can I speed if? Am I allowed to go over the speed limit to pass other cars on the highway? That is Eric Sabogal who wants to know. And the answer is no, Eric, you can't. You're never allowed to You're never allowed to go over the posted limit. It is a limit for a reason. You're not allowed to go above it. Many people have an issue with this. They think that the speed limits are too low, and that's okay. You're allowed to think that. You're not allowed to actually go above them, but you're allowed to think what you want about them. There's no reason to pass someone above the posted speed limit because they're probably doing the speed limit, and that's the legal limit. Moving along. I can't decode this username. Okay. How long do I have after purchasing a vehicle to register it? 6 days. You have 6 days. Now, you can't drive that vehicle around unless it's insured. And and if you have temporary plates, which are plates that were not truly temporary, but plates that were registered to your previous vehicle but unattached. So you can't, if you have a Honda Civic and you buy another Honda Civic, you can't take Honda Civic 1's plates and put them on 2. That's not allowed. But if you bought, if you sold Honda Civic 1 and you had no car in your garage, but you had the plates still, you bought the new one, you had insurance put on it, you can put them on for up to 6 days on your Honda Civic 2. Does that work? I think that works. In terms of, I know the answer works. Does it work for you? Now, the best bet is to actually register the vehicle before anything happens. It's just the better practice. But there are situations sometimes where you don't have a registration opportunity before then. Okay. Hen has a lot of traffic tickets. Let's talk about Hen's problems. I have a lot of traffic tickets. Would that affect a policing career, assuming I'm allowed to drive? So you can't have more than 6 demerit points to apply, or when you apply. Demerit points do go away. If your traffic tickets are historical in nature, in other words, it was when you were much younger and made much poorer decisions, but you've seen the error of your ways and you're making better decisions now, well, that's something that you can actually address and talk about. You could say, when I was a kid, I did stupid things. I drove recklessly. I drove carelessly. I sped. I was showing off, but now I'm a responsible adult. If you can make that a statement and you've cleaned up your act, then you'll probably be okay. And if that's something a little more recent, well, you might have to come back and try again later. It really depends. Speak to a recruiter for the best answer. Art wants to know, can I be fined for having a plate protector since my plates are personalized and starting to peel? You can be fined. Doesn't matter what kind of plate you have. If it's peeling, just the peeling alone could get you fined. You have to maintain those plates in good order. Now, if it's within 5 years and they're just starting to peel, you may very well qualify for a warranty replacement, and I have it on good authority that they will replace custom plates. If it's beyond the warranty, they may charge you again for your custom plates. So talk to them, see what you can do. You never know. I would make sure, though, that you go to a actual ministry location, as opposed to one of the franchises that is run under license. There's a difference. And not to knock, well, it is to knock. I've heard people going to the licensed locations. I've heard that they've gone there and been told no because they want the transaction. They want to process it. Whereas I've heard very good things about the ones that are actually ministry run, and people get better results. Just saying. And if I'm wrong, and if you work at any of the locations, let me know. Because if you're saying that licensed ones are just magical and awesome and take good care of people, well, then I will retract my statement. Okay. How do we get an officer to monitor an area or intersection that is bad with speeders and red light runners? Very simply, Crano. Is it Crano? Go to tps.ca and file a report. You can actually make a report of a neighborhood driving issue. You can report individual drivers with their license plate and information, but you can also just complain about neighborhood issues, and that sounds like what you've got there. So you can make the report, the local division gets it, and then they can assign a traffic complaints officer to that location to address it. Now, they won't be there all day long every day. However, it is a thing that they can start putting it on their radar to start addressing it. Not quite hardcore says, do drivers need a fixed address to keep their license or their driver's license? My understanding is yes, but I am not the issuer of licenses. There may be opportunities to license it to someone else's address that you get mail. You'd really need to talk to the ministry, but generally speaking, it's where you reside. And if you don't reside anywhere, I could see that being an issue. But I don't know truly whether or not it changes your qualifications to get one. I would say the place that you continuously get mail and have access to you. So if it's a parent, a sibling, a friend that allows you, if you have no other fixed address and you're bouncing between couches, I would say the one that you bounce to more often than not. The videos, we talked about this one. Okay. So Chemo Tarek Osman says, if you parked in Green Pea parking and you're inside the car but didn't pay for parking, is that a ticket? You're parking. You're parking whether or not you're in the car or not. So could you get a parking ticket on Yonge Street? If you didn't pay but you're in the space, yeah, technically you could be towed. I mean, they probably ask you to get out of the car, but technically, yeah, you're parking because you're in park in the spot, whether you're physically in the vehicle or not. So if you go to a green P and you're just hanging out, you're still eligible for a ticket. Question about streetcar. Saw a streetcar was ticketed in Toronto. Since they aren't cars under the MTO, is the ticket valid? Yes, it is, Graham. They do qualify for, and they do have to follow the laws under the they aren't cars. As vehicles, they are vehicles, even though they're on rail. And the almost all of the offenses talks about drivers of motor vehicles or those operating streetcars. What is the exact wording? I'd have to go and look at it, but they're definitely specifically identified under the HDA. But it's a good question. I don't think anyone's ever asked me about that before. Oh, I wish this were true. Radek wants to know if body cameras alleviate officers of any report writing responsibilities, and sadly, we are still required to write reports. It doesn't go away. In fact, it's a great independent capture of what happened, but we're still writing notes. Maybe one day that'll change, but for the time being, it is not. Okay, do cops still choose the price of a traffic? Did we ever choose it? There are set fines. We don't choose them. We write down the set fine, or the charge comes with a set fine. In the event that you take it to court, that opens things up. There are minimums and maximums set in the sort of a price range that the justice of the peace could choose to give you if you attended court. So, tickets that may have a $110 fine could actually be raised to $500 if you go to court. But officers don't just make them up. It's all prescribed. What was the website where I can check the person I am giving the car? Oh, if you go to TrafficCop.ca. Do I have this to put on the screen? Probably not. Of course not. Why would I have it on? I've got to have it here somewhere. Anyway, TrafficCop.ca, and that will take you to my link tree. And on my link tree, there is a link to give you that information. Allows you to search. How would I put it on the screen and show you? Look at that. I can do that. We can do these things. Clickety-click. So many clicks. All right. So if we scroll down to useful information, useful links, driver's license check. That's what you're looking for. And that will tell you nothing personal about them. You'll provide the license plate number, or not license plate, but the driver's license number and some basic information. It'll just tell you if it's valid or not valid. Lots of great information there. Got to renew your license? You can do it there. Okay, Dre Sabarin says, I am going for my G1 in Halifax. What's this? I'm going for my G1. I am going to Halifax in September. Can I drive there? So your G1 is really intended for Ontario. Is it possible that a Halifax officer would accept a G1? It's possible. Basically, every province decides whether or not they're going to accept things. It's not intended that way. In fact, if you were to move to Halifax, you would have to apply for a learner's permit in Halifax if you were living there. So if you're going to be moving there, just get your license there because it won't be valid. You'll have to start all over again anyway. If you're just visiting and you want to know if you can drive, I would suggest that you don't. Insurance companies may take issue with it. It's not intended. It's issued by Ontario for Ontario. It is different than a proper license, and you may have issues. So I would check with your local authorities to ensure that they would accept a driver driving with a G1. All right. Inderpreet, what is your question? Is there any law for slow drivers driving below the speed limit in the first lane or passing lane? So if you are driving below the speed limit for no reason or significantly below the speed limit that you're impeding traffic, because technically speaking, there could be a reason. It could be snowing, raining, poor visibility. Those are all reasons to drive below the speed limit, regardless of what lane you're in. And if you're in the left lane, you probably shouldn't be there. If you stay which is why we want you to stay to the right. I drive all the way to work in the right-hand lane because I'm driving the speed limit and I'm watching the dum-dums go faster in the left lane. I say dum-dum because it's a reference to Fred Flintstone. He was dum-dum because that's what, what was the Martian's name? He called him dum-dum. The Great Gazoo? It was the Great Gazoo. There we go. I have a complaint about an intersection that doesn't work. Is there a 311 issue or City Hall? What do you mean it doesn't work? So if it's an issue with the intersection's design or the lights, then 311 is appropriate. If it is a traffic complaint that people are doing the wrong thing, then an online forum with the Toronto Police, if it's in the City of Toronto, would be appropriate, and we would be able to respond with having more enforcement there. Oh. There's a video going around on TikTok of a TPS officer talking to a cyclist in the middle of the road and said he was doing wheelies, which are illegal. Is that true? Well, yes. Yes, it is. It doesn't qualify for stunt driving as they're not a motor vehicle. However, a bicycle could be charged, or a cyclist could be charged with careless driving, which wheelies in the center of the road would absolutely qualify for. So yes, it's illegal to do wheelies in the road on a bicycle. I think that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. I saw the video, and I forgot all about it until you just mentioned it. Big Skrilladilla says, I have a motorcycle license. If I move to Ontario, do I have to do the road test again? If you have a full motorcycle license and you're coming from a province or a country that allows for a straight trade, then you will keep your motorcycle designation. If you are coming from somewhere that does not recognize or that we don't recognize as a licensing body, you may have to take it again. It really depends. How does a plate reader work? I have no idea how they were designed, but my understanding it is optical character recognition. In other words, it looks at the design or the shapes, and it can decipher based on comparing it to a sample model of characters to identify not only what it is, but from what jurisdiction it's from. It's pretty cool. I was reading online about, actually it was YouTube videos. I was trying to build my own license plate reader because I'm a geek, and it was a Raspberry Pi app that you could download or load up using a standard webcam to actually build a license plate reader. Very cool stuff. Okay, question, if you are stunt driving 80 over, do you get to drive until your court date? No. And yes. So if you are stunt driving 80 over, well, if you get stunt driving, not just 80 over, but anything that triggers stunt driving, because about 15 different activities you could partake in that would end you up in a stunt driving charge, you are going to be suspended immediately. It's an administrative suspension for 30 days. Your vehicle is going to be impounded for 14. That's each and every time you get caught doing that. Now, when you get to court, so after your 30 days, you can reapply for or apply for reinstatement. That is what happens. And then once you're issued your license again, it's until you finish your court date stuff. Because if you go to court, and you're found guilty, you're going to lose your license for a minimum 1 year, maximum 3 years on first conviction. On your second, it's 3 to 10 years. On your third time, it's a lifetime suspension. But each time you're charged, you're going to get a 30-day suspension. What is the fine for loaning your car to a non-licensed driver? Good question, Tim. I believe it's $110 for basically letting someone who is, and that's for a regular vehicle. Let me go double check. I want to get you some real deal information here. Let's see if I can find it under unlicensed. Permit unlicensed person to, oh no, it's $240. No demerit points. No person who is the owner or is in possession or control of a motor vehicle or combination of vehicles shall permit any person to drive the motor vehicle or combination of vehicles on a highway unless that person holds a driver's license for the class of motor vehicle or combination of vehicles to which the motor vehicle or combination. That's very wordy. In any case, $240. And if it's commercial motor vehicle, it's $390. There you go. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. Points to you. Okay. We talked about this. I'm congested. Okay. What do you do if you catch a bus driver speeding in the bus? You pull them over and give them a speeding ticket. Yeah. I'm always shocked when I see commercial motor vehicles exceeding the posted speed limit. I had a guy in a Bell work truck speeding and driving aggressively. In fact, stunt driving. Sadly, I was off duty, but a conversation with their employer was always good. Then you've got bus drivers and people who do silly things. I don't understand it. You're getting paid by the hour. Drive appropriately. And if you're not being paid by the hour, drive appropriately. Just saying. Is passing on a double line illegal? It's not suggested. The double line suggests it's not safe based on visibility, likely, but it's not against the law to cross the double line. There's no charge in the province of Ontario for it. Could you do it safely? Possibly, maybe. If you cause a collision, you're definitely the one responsible because we have a clue. You're on the wrong side of the double line. But there's no offense in the province of Ontario, while other provinces do have offenses for that. Okay, question from Albert Camps. Can you report a burned out signal brake light where the driver could be notified without a fine? We don't have a reporting system for that. Truly, people should be doing circle checks of their vehicle, and they could be getting tickets if they don't do those circle checks because we pull them over for having, no signal or no brake light. Now, here's the deal. Technically speaking, as long as you have one functional brake light on your vehicle, you are compliant with the law. And even though you have, 2/3 of those brake lights burnt out, it's not ticketable. We would probably pull you over and tell you that it was something you should probably deal with because you're 2/3 of the way towards having no brake lights. Now, when you talk about signaling, now signals is an issue because you are required by law to signal. Yeah. Canadian Ape, you're most welcome. I wonder which was it your question? I was in the zone. I don't know if I answered your question or if that was an accidental button press or which question it was. But anyway, I appreciate you, man. Let's see here. What is the distance allowed when using high beams? That is Cassie who wants to know. 150 meters approaching and 60 meters. Sorry, approaching from behind at 60 meters. Now I've not confused myself. 50 meters, 60 meters. Okay, let's do this. Low beam. Oncoming is 150. Okay, so it's 60 meters from the rear. Following 150 and 60. I get them all mixed up, but it's 150 and 60, and truly, I would even be farther than that. It is so hard to judge distance for someone who doesn't judge distance on a regular basis that you could find yourself being in violation. And there's now high tech stuff. People were telling me about automatic license plate dimming mechanisms in modern cars. New fandangled stuff. So cool. Anybody watching any Westerns? I'm watching a Western right now. I'm watching, what is it? What's the name of it? It's Lawman on what the heck is it called? Paramount. It's on Paramount. Anyway, something Lawman. I like it. I like it a lot. I was watching it last night, episode 3. Okay. I can unflag this one and I can flag this one. If you get, here we go. Tint. If you get a tint ticket, will cop always ask to get an inspection done? No, it doesn't. It's not an always thing. Different places, different rules. In Ontario, if I give you a ticket, I give you a ticket. If you're just getting a ticket, you're getting the lesser offense. You're getting the obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. That's the $110 ticket. If you have tint on your windshield or if you have really dark tint on your windows left and right of the driver, I'm pulling your license plates. You're getting towed home. You're getting a vehicle inspection done before you can reapply for a license plate. Totally different. One is really, really dark, and one is too dark by a little bit. Really depends. And I guess you can get both. Yeah. Hello. Can semi-truck drivers have a few pints and still sleep in their sleeper berth? Sergeant Campbell is joining us, and I figured I'd just throw the question across the room as he walked in. Why not jump right into the frying pan?
Well, Semi-truck drivers are commercial motor vehicle operators, and they have a zero blood
But
alcohol.
what if they drink outside of the vehicle and get in to have a sleep because they're parked?
If they're over the legal limit, it could be care and control.
Even if they're just sleeping in the trunk in the sleeper.
Yep, absolutely. Even though it's a motor vehicle that has a sleeper bunk on it, if you have the keys for it and you're in care and control of the vehicle, and you're over 80 or impaired, then you can be charged.
Probably not a good idea.
What's your thoughts on that?
I agree. That's usually my answer. If you have the keys, that could be a thing where people do things like, well, I'll give my keys to my buddy, or I'll put the keys somewhere else. And at the end of the day, if you have a way of getting those keys, even if they're not physically on you right now, but all you have to do is walk over there and say, hey, Bob, give me the keys. You're playing technicalities.
Right. Would you want to risk it?
I would not want to risk it.
If I had any driver's license, let alone a commercial one.
If my livelihood is based on my driver's license, I'm going to do everything I can not to put it in jeopardy.
Yep.
Just me. Let's see here. Ooh, Chase has a question. Chase always has good questions. After you pull someone over, do you tend to immediately go back to the same spot you were hiding, or do you find a new place? That really depends on how I feel. There is no always in enforcement. Sometimes I will work across an area. Sometimes I will go back to my nook that I love so much. It really depends on where I am.
Yeah, it depends on the road you're on as well, because sometimes on a controlled access highway, there's no way unless you take the long loop going all the way around. So, yeah, it depends.
It depends. But it's a good question. I like the question. Greetings and salutations from the Traffic Management Center. How's it going, Akela? Can cops pull over a city bus? I have pulled over a city bus. I have charged city bus drivers in collisions. Like they are not above the law. In fact, they should be more scrutinized than everybody else because they are holding a lot of lives and in their hands.
Yeah, I too have pulled over city buses before, and not only did they get the ticket, but the supervisor came and suspended the member and drove the bus away.
That is any time they get charged.
Yep.
Yes. You would think they would do things right, always, but apparently not. Loading. Can cops pull up? Got that one already. Okay. Hey, Sean, are people getting fined for firecracker use? I am not aware of it. It may be happening. It may not. I know a lot of places we're not allowing firecrackers for Diwali.
Yeah, in city bylaws, depending on where you are, it's unfortunate, but there's a reason for it.
Yes, I heard them in my area, so I know that people were using them. Whether they got fined for it, I don't know. But that's recent. They changed it, right? More laws. Is giving traffic tickets a fulfilling job? Well, traffic tickets is one portion of my job. Actually, not right now, but enforcement is a huge component of traffic safety. And do I find it fulfilling to issue tickets and change driver behavior and save lives through that action? I do, actually. So
you said it right there. You're stopping people that are committing offenses, giving them a ticket in hopes to change their driver behavior. That is satisfying. Giving tickets to people? No, absolutely not.
And people very often make comments saying, you're taking money from the working man. You're not making, it's just about the money. You're a pirate. We are simply doing the paperwork. You chose to conduct yourself in a way that made you eligible to be stopped and ticketed. Thus, you gave yourself the ticket. I just filled out the paperwork. You did it.
Yep. And not only that, look at the expense of what happens when you get involved in a collision. Through your insurance, through your work, through the family, through somebody getting injured.
The consequences are catastrophic in some cases. In some cases, you get the little warning of a ticket, whether it be $100 or $1,000, whatever the case is. It could be something that changes lives and communities forever. The ticket is the least of your worries, but it's a good wake-up call to change your behavior and keep you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And so many people who earlier on in the show asked about becoming a police officer. Well, what if you want a career that relies on a driver's license? All these things matter, and we track everything forever. So why would you conduct yourself in a way that could hurt you? Never mind the fact that if you get convicted on a number of these charges, you're looking at insurance rates that are astronomical.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
if you want to still have the right to drive and you can afford to drive, well, then you should manage yourself. Can on-duty officers get a traffic ticket in the police car? Could they? We're exempt from some offenses. So we're allowed to exceed the posted speed limit in the lawful execution of our duties. That's not to go and order pizza in a hurry, but it is to get to where we're going, to respond to calls, to do enforcement, to do all sorts of things. Are we allowed to do that? Yes. Do we try and limit it because safety is a priority? Yes. But could we technically get in trouble? Yeah. If we go through
Even more so.
Well, yeah, because we're also, not only could we potentially get charged, we're also going to be held up by the Police Services Act and scrutinized by our management because whenever something goes wrong, multiple eyes are on it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
as a supervisor, you can speak to that.
And as a supervisor, when I was on the road, part of my job was to go back and review in-car camera video of what officers were doing every day. And if something came up that I noticed there was an infraction, absolutely. They would be documented. They could be charged under the Police Services Act, multiple things, and charged under the Highway Traffic Act. This happens every single time that we are involved with a collision, whether we're at fault or not. We have a whole internal review that could lead to getting double charged.
Yes. I think it's safe to say that we are the most scrutinized profession on the planet, more so than doctors, lawyers, and everybody else. There are more eyes on us, and we are accountable to everybody.
Yep, and we're the only profession that has the double jeopardy. So double jeopardy means you can be charged for the same offense
In two different courts.
in two different courts.
Eric wants to know, if I'm charged for not surrendering license, can I present it at a police station within a certain number of hours? The answer is no. I mean, there are some jurisdictions that may give you that opportunity. Back in the day when it was paper tickets, officers would often say, if you come see me within the next little while, I'll take it back. But nowadays, it's not a matter of whether or not you are licensed. We're going to verify that before we let you go, because if you're unlicensed, we're not saying goodbye, at least not with you driving away. So it is simply because you have violated the law at that moment. By not surrendering it in that moment, you have violated and are guilty of that. So we're going to charge you for it. And at that point, it's up to you and the prosecutor to deal with whether or not they want to continue with it.
Yep, absolutely. Well said.
Why, thank you. How do you pass time when waiting at a speed trap? Well, the speed trap isn't so much a thing that lights go off and a net comes down. It's like we are actively measuring speed, monitoring traffic, looking for not just speeders, but people who are passing by who are on their cell phones, possibly not wearing their seatbelts, vehicles that look like they're not safe. We're not just doing one thing. We are busy and focused, and it's exhausting.
Yep, and to catch somebody for speeding, we first have to make observations and determine in our mind if you're speeding or not. And we have to do a speed estimate before we actually turn on the radar and get your exact speed. We have to make that determination. So it's a full-time job.
Truly. So if I'm out there watching you, I'm not just randomly pointing my laser at you and finding out that, oh, look at that car, it's speeding. We're watching. We're looking for a vehicle that is passing other vehicles, that is showing a distinct speed greater than that of the average, and then we're making measurements after we've made an estimate ourselves.
Yep. To be qualified to use a speed measuring radar or laser, we actually have to go out with a coach officer, and we have to do speed estimates, and we have to get our speed estimates within a certain amount, allowable amount, before we're qualified to use it.
Yeah. Now, the number we use is not based on our estimate. We're not going to say, I thought it was 60, I confirmed it was 60, and therefore the estimate is correct. Maybe we are doing that, but we're not doing it where we make up a number based on the observation, and if it doesn't match the other one, we're still going to use the instrument to truly measure the speed, is where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Pablo wants to know, I have noticed, they don't want to know this, making a statement. I have noticed many people making U-turns in the left lane of traffic lights. Is this allowed? So it depends. Depends if there's a sign prohibiting. It depends if it's safe to do it there. Is the light green? Is the light red? Generally speaking, it is permissible if it's safe to do so and not signed otherwise. If there's a crest of grade or curves involved or locations that are absolutely prohibited, well, then they can't do it, like tunnels, viaducts, bridges, things of that nature. what I tend to see, unfortunately, is that people are making U-turns on red lights thinking it's okay.
Yep, can't do that.
That's not allowed.
No. And what I can tell you, though, is making a U-turn at an intersection is probably the most unsafe location to do it. Think about it. You're not only crossing the oncoming lane of traffic, but you're crossing the intersecting traffic lanes as well. So that's an awful lot of responsibility to do it safely, where your U-turn could be made at a different location, or a couple of left turns, or a couple of right turns.
There are so many better
back
options.
to where you were.
I think that they're very unsafe as well. There are scenarios where it's it makes sense. There's nobody around. But if there's any option other than a U-turn, I think that's the better option. Just a shout out to that name. We'll call you Drip. DJ13 Drip. Hey officers, how you doing today? I am doing well, and I appreciate the hello. I just looked at the time. It's 5 minutes after 11, so I'm going to continue through. We're going to stop taking new questions, although someone that I just caught in the corner of my eye from Sid the Sloth, who says, why don't cyclists get more tickets? And the answer is they get tickets. We just have to be where we are, and where we are may not be where they are. We have to catch them. So we have to see them. If we see them, then we deal with it.
So cycling, a cycle is a bicycle is a vehicle. It's not a motor vehicle, but it is a vehicle on the roadway, and it's still subject to most of the moving violations that you can get in a motor vehicle.
We'll come back to that in a second. There's a video that I don't think I've shown you, but I'll tell you about it. And it's going back to a Chase question earlier. So Coach Eric, not Kate Cheddick.
Easy for you to say.
On-road highway with turning lane down the middle, are you allowed to pass someone in the turning lane? Someone asked me this on outside of the live over the weekend. So there's a multi-use center lane, and they had passed them and got ticketed for passing in the center lane. They said it was improper use. I could see where if you're passing a tractor that would actually be an appropriate use, but it depends on if you're truly misusing it. Like if you're driving down the center lane to pass 15 cars, that's a misuse of the center lane.
Absolutely.
So it depends on the situation. But simply passing a slow-moving vehicle that's holding up traffic and impeding, but they're legitimately a slow-moving vehicle like a tractor or something, that could be in that situation.
If there's no other travel lane of traffic that you can do it in, then it is reasonable. But it's not out there for passing everybody. If you're approaching a red light and you want to go into the common left turn lane and move your way up to the front of the left turn lane, that's possibly a use for it. But
well, it depends on how far back. If you're a kilometer back and you want to get to that turn lane, I would think that's not appropriate. So it really depends. You have to use some common sense and be prepared to justify that common sense when you're pulled over and stopped, or when you make it to court if you're in the event that you're charged. So whatever you do, would your mom say it's okay to do? If she'd say just calm down and wait 5 minutes, it's very, very often that's the would mom or grandma. See, if mom's a speedster herself, don't use mom as the as the objective third person to judge you. Do parking violations stay on your driving history? If yes, for how long? Parking tickets don't go on your driver's license; they go on your ownership or your license plate, and I don't know if they're kept at all, but it's irrelevant. It does not impact your driver's license.
So the municipality is the one who would issue your parking ticket. It's a bylaw. It's not a Highway Traffic Act offense. Mm-hmm. They may keep a record of how many times they've given you a ticket. In fact, we know that there's what's called the scofflaw. And scofflaw means a repeat offender may then get their car towed.
Is that for unpaid or paid? I think scofflaw is for unpaid parking tickets. If you had a multitude of unpaid current tickets before the courts,
could be.
I may be wrong.
Could be.
That's an Aaron question. By the way, Aaron Urquhart is back in business and back on social media. So if you have parking questions, find her at TPS_bikehart for all your parking needs. Okay, we covered that one. Can you get charged for showing an officer the finger?
That finger? That finger.
It's a finger.
That finger? These fingers.
All the fingers. Can you get charged for that? It's not against the law to use sign language.
No.
Just saying. Is it a good way to bolstering relations amongst police officers and members of the community? Listen, if you got something to say, by all means say it. It doesn't necessarily change our day.
Nope, not at all. And in fact, it just may draw attention to you.
Which may, yes.
Which may lead to further interactions.
We may have not even been paying attention to all the issues on your vehicle at the time that you'd done it.
You know what? I got pretty thick skin.
Yeah, me
I've
too.
been around for a while, so
We're traffic
give me the
officers.
finger. Yeah.
Maybe other officers may not be, as easygoing about it, but certainly traffic officers will probably have a laugh. 'Cause, yeah, we left our feelings at the door. Okay, what happens if you crash your police car? Our police car? Well, that does happen. If we're involved in a motor vehicle collision, it's obviously going to be investigated. Remember, we have cameras everywhere. We have sensors everywhere. We're GPS tracked. They know everything. And if it's our responsibility, we're going to eat it.
Yeah, when we crash, an independent police officer comes to do the crash investigation. A supervisor, like a sergeant, has to come out and do the conduct investigation on that officer to determine if they're at fault at all. Every police crash is reviewed through a committee, and you could face Highway Traffic Act charges, Police Services Act charges. You could lose time from your pay. Comes out if you crash too many times, and you may have to pay the ticket.
So fun stuff, essentially.
Yeah, like we said earlier, we're pretty scrutinized.
Yes, I think a lot of people are under the misconception that police can do whatever they want anytime and they can just get away with it. And whether we actually have to articulate and justify everything we do. Every choice, every decision is going to be weighed at some point. So. Jamie O'Shea wants to know if you're allowed to turn right when you have a red signal and an advanced green arrow. So a right turn on a red? Is that really the question? Can I distill it down to that?
So are you saying that the opposing traffic has a advanced green arrow to make the left turn, and you are making a right turn into the same lanes as the...
I don't know. Jamie, do tell. If you're saying if there is an advanced left, can you make a right turn on red? It's still red for you for the purposes of making a right turn, so then the same laws would apply. Now, someone making a right turn on red must ensure that right on red can be completed in safety. So if somebody else is making an advanced turn into your area and you're going to meet up in the middle, well, you have a higher degree of responsibility to ensure that they are not going to be interfered with when you make your turn.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they have a right of way at that point.
The obligation is on you.
Yes. If it was a green light and both of you had an equal, essentially, authority to make a turn, the person crossing over the live lanes would have a greater responsibility, but you still have a responsibility to ensure you can complete your turning maneuver in safety. So you'll still be scrutinized. You may share a different level of responsibility when it comes to insurance companies evaluating your collision. Akela, yeah. Wanted to confirm you guys got your invites for the conference on the 27th and 28th. I believe I did. I will double check and I'll let you know. Send me an email if you don't mind. I want to just make sure everything is there. I think we have some quotes and we have some dad jokes. I got some dad jokes.
It's not Friday, but
it's not Friday, but dad jokes are a little bit of every day. But it is past that point of no return for new questions. There's so many people here that I can't even keep track of this. But thankfully, JD's been doing the magical job of monitoring and taking your questions and making them available for me to go through. So let's see here. Akela first off says, stay safe, remember, don't have a good day, have a great day. That is his classic.
That's his line.
That's his line. Greetings and salutations on the way in and the stay safe, remember, on the way out. He has a quote of the day. This is his new shtick. And today's quote from Akela is, eventually, we all have to accept full and total responsibility for our actions, everything we have done and have not done. Hubert Selby Jr., where on earth did you get this? I mean, I like it, but where'd you get it? It's heavy.
It's deep.
It's deep. Okay, we're going to go into dad jokes. I know there's other questions that came in at 10 after. We got to skip you just because the show's only on for an hour, and if we don't stop somewhere, we'll never stop. And I've done that before. So here, this is the weekend. We got 3 jokes. So a persistent banker wouldn't stop hitting me, so I asked him to leave me alone.
Nah.
The other day, I felt like royalty at the dentist's office. They put crowns on my teeth. It's real stinkers.
Yeah.
When did the dragon's meal get interrupted? Around midnight.
Not bad.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
Now listen, if the bar was higher, we'd have problems, but it is not. Have you got any dad jokes?
No. Actually, I had a good one this weekend, and I can't remember right now, but I'll make sure to get it.
And I'm looking to see if any dad jokes popped up. I don't see them. I don't see a dad joke, and mind you, I didn't see one because I've not been monitoring the chat directly. I don't know. Maybe there was one and we missed it. In any case, have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to do it all over again. Are we? Is it going to be a we? Are you going to be around? Maybe, possibly, could be.
Yeah, I should be.
Okay. In that case, I will hit this button. It plays the Song of Songs, and we'll be back tomorrow. I just noticed a comment here. We'll see. Okay, song, and then I'll talk about this.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
Just because Instagram gets ignored so often, I wanted to take this question because it was asked on both platforms. What are the regulations or laws regarding usage of the roundabout apron by individuals? Well, if we're talking about the area that is usually paved or raised outside of the roadway on a roundabout, that is not part of the roadway that you should be driving on. However, there are times when it has to be mounted by 18-wheelers to get around, big long trucks that need to get past. There are times when it'll be utilized. But in terms of what would we charge? Well, driving off roadway potentially if it was being abused.
Yeah, just I would compare that inner apron part to like the shoulder of the road. You wouldn't drive down the shoulder of the road continuously because
you get a ticket.
Yeah, but sometimes it's needed. If you have an 18-wheeler, you have a long truck, you have whatever that needs to use it, or for safety-wise, that area is there to avoid a collision, then use it.
Apparently the music was quiet. Good to know. I don't know
All right.
why. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And for the second time today, see you tomorrow.